A religion is defined as a system of rituals based on faith, or a belief system based on faith, aka belief without evidence. A philosophy, at least in the applied sense, is a way to view the world and live your life in an attempt to get the most out of it or to make the world a better place. Science is neither of these. It is a method used to analyze evidence to determine reality. Personal philosophies are flexible and can change when new scientific evidence is discovered. Religion is very rigid and sensitive to change and may have to create defenses to protect itself. Most religions have philosophies in them. Love your neighbor. Bless those who persecute you. Some philosophies have religions embedded in them. Buddhism and Taoism are examples of this. Taoism got absorbed into local Chinese folk religions, and a pantheon was created of the 8 immortals around it. The Buddha never mentioned reincarnation in the early sutras, but because he came from India, it is implied. Buddhism was also absorbed into the Bon religion in Tibet, religious Taoism in China, and Shinto in Japan. Both of these philosophies are actually quite anti-dogmatic, but they figured out how to wrap a dogma and ritualism around them for people who don't get the actual message and just wanted a way to jump onto the power of the newest craze. Dogma is created to let the stupid think they found enlightenment. I have a philosophy, not a religion. I can change it if I receive new information and ways of thinking. Religion kept me from changing when I should have. Everyone has a philosophy, though it may be a philosophy that differs from their actual religion, or the religion could provide the philosophy for them. Atheism is a lack of a belief in God. Buddhism is an atheistic philosophy and religion. People attack atheism as an evil force because they can't figure out where you could get your morals from. You get it from your philosophy, just like they do. Atheism cannot do anything. It doesn't provide anything. It just claims you're not a believer in a God. You can, however, attack a person's philosophy. Nihilism is a lack of a philosophy, the belief that there is no right or wrong and no truth. If these people do the right thing, it would have been because it was their idea to do so. Stalin and Pol Pot and many other ruthless dictators had a variety of this philosophy, and it led to a very dangerous and bloody end. Postmodernism is a belief that you can never really know anything, and everyone's opinion is equally valid. If this is true, then they should go see a tarot card reader to find out what's wrong with their car. Gnosticism, by the Huxleyan definition, is a position taken when one believes they know for certain something. Agnosticism is when one believes in degrees of certainty based on evidence, but one can never be 100% certain. 99% is still much better to believe in than 1% certain or no evidence at all. Most philosophies are partial philosophies, including religions. They focus on certain issues or aspects of issues, but they don't cover all of them, which is why having more than one philosophy for varying situations is important. Otherwise, we're doing something without thinking about it. This is why I follow a philosophical version of Taoism and Tantric Buddhism, all of which have variations depending on the religion or person. I made this 5 elements diagram a few years ago when I wanted to figure out what all belief systems had in common. These are all the applied philosophies one can follow. Just to clarify, theoretical philosophy is what the Western philosophy is, and from it, after studying it, you can make your own applied philosophy, while Eastern and religious philosophies are more applied philosophy. If you watch my What the Heck is Love series, you can see that it is set up in the same way as my 5 elements of love, and the points of the star must remain balanced to have a good philosophy, while an overabundance of a certain philosophy or a denial will lead to its corresponding outer negative philosophy. Let's take Christianity, for example. It teaches all about guardianism and charitism to a certain degree, and to follow all the laws, one has to deny themselves and learn everything about it, leading to scientism, and depending on which part these people decide is most important, Christianity can be quite authoritarian, militaristic, or else deistic. LaVey invented Satanism to be the almost complete opposite of Christianity, which is why it is a partial philosophy, just as Taoism was made as a polar opposite to Confucianism. If you were to follow Christianity and Satanism in the proper balance, you would have a balanced philosophy. The religions might cause nuclear war in your head, but the philosophies they teach create a balance. I've never heard of this purposely put into practice, so it's still theoretical, because you would cease to be a Christian. I'm sure there were several Confucianist and Taoist balanced hybrids, as the concept of heresy was not such an issue for the Chinese at the time. By the way, many of these names I use for these elemental philosophies are very silly, but they are quite descriptive. Catism. This is a very self-based philosophy. Cats care only about themselves, they love themselves very much, and want to take care of their needs and be in touch with themselves. I don't have the evidence to back this up, but I was told at one point that LaVey was going to name his philosophy Catism, but changed it to Satanism because it scared the bejesus out of Christians. Childism. This philosophy enjoys enjoying your life and living for the moment. De-stressing and enjoying what little time you have will make your life well worth living. Charitism. Giving of one's own self and loving others. This philosophy attempts to make the world better by reducing the suffering of those around you. Guardianism. This philosophy mirrors the theoretical idea of chivalry and protecting the weak and those around you both emotionally and physically. Scientism. This involves removing yourself from your emotions and focusing on the facts, and making logic-based decisions. Destructionism. When you only care about you, you can become quite destructive toward yourself and others. Martyrdom is what occurs when you reject catism and don't love yourself and take yourself into consideration. Fuckitism. Being too much of a child makes you quite irrational and irresponsible. Authoritarianism. When you reject childism, you become overbearing and controlling. LSDism. Happy, fluffy bunny love. When you take a naive view of the world and can't see the bad with the good. Cynicism is when you reject charitism altogether, you can't see any good in the world at all and tend to hate everyone. Militarism. When guardianism goes too far and you need to control everything forcefully. Anarchism. When you reject guardianism, it's every man for himself. Absolutism. When you're so sure that you're right and could never ever be wrong. Nihilism. When you reject science and reason, you end up believing in nothing. Religions have partial philosophies because each of these mental constructs are difficult to grasp. Partial philosophies were developed because the person or people in the period perceived a problem in society and tried to devise a way to fix it. This is because it takes a lot of work to grasp and get into the habit of any of these philosophies. Religious attack atheism because it is the only definable trait they can attack in this group. Many of us have not examined and have not defined our own philosophy. Many of us have hybrid or combo philosophies because one doesn't cover everything. Humanism is a philosophy for some atheists. Pantheism can be considered an atheistic philosophy. Naturalism, Buddhism, Taoism, Satanism, and even Jediism are philosophies. These people can attack and make logical claims about our philosophies by which their merit can either rise or fall. And perhaps you prefer to inject the 5 elements balanced philosophy into your own personal philosophy. I don't really have a name for it as it encompasses all applied philosophies. Perhaps it is the philosophy to end isms, anti-ism, and thanks to South Park as we know, isms always lead atheists to war with otters.